This is Love Yogurt. Alright, Love Yogurt spot. It's owned by former professional boxer George Khalid Jones, and we'll let you know what's up. Tell you why we gave a shot at this place later in the video. Let's go get some yogurt. Love Yogurt, where healthy meets delicious. It's a nice spot. If you ever headed to the fights in New York or Jersey or wherever, make sure you stop in Jersey to check out Love Yogurt. Pretty cool spot. Alright, you can follow them on Instagram at love_yogurt_379 and Facebook at Love Yogurt and Snapchat Love Yogurt 379. Alright, there it is. Alright, the beginning of this video, you saw a yogurt spot. I'll tell you about that in a minute and why I stopped there. So, I went and covered the Wilder fight, Wilder versus Breazeale, and Russell Jr. and Martinez and the Argenis Mendez fight. Barclays Center, the announced crowd was 13,181. You know, sometimes in a quick fight, you still study the tape, and I saw some flaws with both guys, on both sides, okay? For Dominic Breazeale, coming off or out of a break, was ready for action, and he dropped his left hand, exposing a wide open chin. And Deontay Wilder took advantage of it. Now, I know Breazeale is not a boxer by nature. He's only been in the game since the age of 23 years old. But Virgil Hunter and whoever had him prior should have corrected this flaw, at the very least, for the one fight it mattered the most, Deontay Wilder. I mean, the scouting report ain't exactly hard to figure on Wilder, and they didn't. Bad job by Breazeale, bad job by his team prior to Saturday night, and his coach and their team, Virgil Hunter. For Wilder, I noticed something future opponents already know but may forget. He leaves himself wide, and I mean wide open, when throwing his shots, especially the bombs. And Breazeale took advantage of it, kind of, sort of, not once but twice. He just didn't land the punch the way he wanted, and he got his lights cut out shortly thereafter. There's a quote, "Knockouts cause amnesia," and it's apropos here for two reasons. It's apropos for two reasons here. And I'll try to find some video to leave below. But if you go to the 1 minute 43 second mark in the round, Wilder hurt Breazeale with a right hand because Breazeale did what? He dropped his left and got caught. At 135 in the round, after Wilder had him in the corner, Dominic landed one counter that knocked Wilder back off a bit, off balance. Then another counter that got Wilder again and backed him up. And then Wilder began to take some steps back, and then Breazeale threw a double left hook. One missed and one was blocked. And then he cornered Wilder as Deontay held on for dear life. So that one of those two shots, or two of those shots Breazeale clipped him with, got Wilder to the point where he had to back off, and then he held on for dear life for like 10 seconds or so. And then referee Harvey Dock had to literally rip Breazeale's arms off to get Deontay from holding. Just take a look at that. That sounds like a lot that happened in 42 seconds or however long this fight lasted, but just take a look at it. Or I'm sorry, no. It actually lasted longer. But somebody somewhere, if they're smart, is watching a clip of that fight. You know, you have a bad game and you just kind of in basketball, for example, and you lose by 40 and you just throw the tape away and say, all right, let's just forget about that game. Some people will do that in boxing because, once again, knockouts. It causes amnesia. So nobody's going to look at what preceded the knockout. Definitely not going to look at anything from the Breazeale standpoint. But often there's a gem, sometimes in a few seconds of footage. And anyone except me and nobody else in the world will talk about is the knockout. Knockouts cause amnesia. But there's value, especially to counterpunchers, if they watch this video. Breazeale was just too slow to capitalize on it, and defensively he just gets hit too easy. But he exposed something. Well, I won't say exposed. I mean, the book on Wilder is already out as far as leaving himself open. So I won't say exposed. The second point in the amnesia thing is everyone is now out of the woodwork calling this guy, oh, he's the #1 heavyweight now. AJ's clearly ducking him. And he's going to do this to AJ and do that. And let's not let the knockout cause amnesia, folks. Let's remember the last time Wilder fought before Saturday, he got his butt kicked. He got outboxed by Tyson Fury. Got a couple knockdowns and was gifted a draw. But the bottom line is Wilder lost what was probably a 115, 111 fight to Fury. And that's with 2 knockdowns in his favor, the 15-11 score. I mean, without the 2 knockdowns, you're looking at like a 10-2 or 9-3 type of fight. Let's be honest. Let's just put that in perspective, okay? The guy isn't all that, but he has that right-hand hammer, and it'll be tough to avoid because there's height and, more importantly, reach to go along with that right-hand hammer, as well as athleticism. I'll throw that in there. But let's calm down, okay? Breazeale, let's calm down. As you know, I had a cold last week. I think it's kind of turning into a little bronchitis or what have you, so we're still trying to knock it out, Deontay Wilder style. But here's the category I put Wilder in. It's like the top 10 of the most dangerous money shots in boxing. His right hand is up there with Inoue's and Nonito Donaire's left hooks. It's a problem. And it's like in the NBA. You have good players like Kawhi Leonard, who can score 20 plus a night. or LeBron James or Paul Pierce, you know, they all got theirs in, night in. Then you have players who had what you call go-to shots. See, LeBron, Paul Pierce, Kawhi Leonard, they don't really have a go-to shot. They just get theirs. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with his sky hook, that was his go-to shot. James Harden with that step-back three-point shot, even though he travels every single time he does it. Often takes more than 4 steps, but usually takes 4 steps. It looks like 3, but it's 4. And of course, there's a video out where he took like 6 steps and they had the nerve to call a foul on the guy defending him and not a travel. But anyway, or Kobe or Jordan with their fadeaways. This is their money shot, their go-to shot. And guys like Wilder and Donaire have their go-to shots, their money shots. So, whereas guys like Terrence Crawford and Anthony Joshua don't. They find different ways to win. Guys like Deontay and Donaire don't. I mean, when's the last time Donaire won a fight by knockout and it wasn't the left hook that got the knockout or that pretty much ended the fight? Maybe he threw a flurry or something afterwards. But when was the last time Deontay Wilder scored a knockout with an uppercut or a left hook and not the right hand? Go ahead. I'll wait. So he's on that list. He has a go-to punch or a money shot, and it's the right hand. And it's worked for him, so he shouldn't change. He's one-dimensional, and he doesn't really have boxing skill. But he's won. And he has a draw, which should be a loss, but the bottom line is he's won more than he's not won. And competition notwithstanding, he's just getting the job done, so you're not going to change. Even if you coach him on other things, he's going to revert back to that go-to shot. So people can make noise for that Joshua fight all they want. The reason Louis Ortiz foolishly didn't take that $7 million or $8 million to fight Anthony Joshua is so they could have him in their pocket as Wilder's next opponent for probably a third of what he would have gotten had he chosen to fight Joshua. Dumb move for him at this point in his career, especially. Listen, I should have closed my window. Somebody's blasting music outside, but we roll on. Listen, this guy, Louis Ortiz, will probably be somewhere between 46 and 51 years old when he fights Deontay Wilder. And I know people are laughing and thinking I'm exaggerating, but there's a boxing promoter out there who's been in the game for some years named Rick Glazer, and he did the math, and he said that Louis Ortiz was 49 when he fought Deontay Wilder, and which puts him in line with Sonny Liston, who was, I believe, 49 when he fought Ali. There's a guy who did some research. Took him 40 years to write the book about Liston in the Ali fights. And, man, he's got some compelling stuff. He knew Sonny, and well, anyway, I don't know how old Ortiz is, but he's not the age he's listed. I'm sure of that. And I'm also sure he should have taken the AJ fight. And listen, the offer was there, so don't go back and say AJ ducked him. Bottom line is, you won't see Joshua versus Wilder until maybe 2021. Who knows? I mean, it could be 2020. A lot of it depends on what Klitschko does, because if he throws his name in the hat, it'll be 2021 for sure. Dominique Breazeale said the stoppage was premature. Yeah, right. If there is any argument, his argument should have been that he was fast counted by Harvey Dock. And, you know, Doc is a Jersey guy, so I should like him. But I think I cursed him. And a few years ago when I was ranking referees, Doc was my #1 rated referee. I swear I must have cursed the dude because he was premature in the Jacobs versus Quillen fight. He was premature in the Charlo versus Lubin fight. Check my video on that. And Saturday, he went like this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, and I know I sped it up a little bit, but between when he picked the count up at 5 and he went to 5 to 6, it was like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, you understand? He sped the count up. So if there was any argument for Breazeale, it shouldn't be that the fight was stopped prematurely. He should have. He fast counted Breazeale. Fortunately, when Dominic got up, he was in no condition to continue. You know, maybe if there was a 15 count, Harvey would have let it slide. But Doc needs to get it right. He needs to get the count right. And don't say last night's count doesn't matter. Okay? Amnesia. Knockouts. Amnesia. Just go back one fight. If Jack Reese doesn't count the way he did, and he fast counted Tyson Fury, I wouldn't be having this monologue right now. Because Wilder would have been declared the winner, and that would have been a shame because Fury boxed his ears off. Deontay, don't apologize and hug the WBC guy after the fight. Keep it real like you said you would. At the press conference, at the weigh-in, on that show with, I believe it was Max Kellerman. Yeah, it was the Max on Boxing. Keep it real, dude. You said you meant what you said. And just be real with the WBC. Like, yeah, I said it. Because, I mean, what is the WBC really going to do with their investigation? If you recall, they pretended to hate Canelo and he, them. And now they're bedfellows. He was suspended for the same amount of time he would have taken off anyway. I don't think he was fined. I don't think Canelo was fined, which is tragic. And then let's look at Billy Joe Saunders. Here's a guy who vacated the WBO title because he was going to get stripped anyway for failed drug tests. Said it was nasal spray that caused the failed tests. And what happened 2 months later? He fights on the undercard of Warrington versus Frampton. But the WBO suspended him for 6 months. So what gives? Then in January, the WBO lifted the suspension. But the WBO suspended him for 6 months. What gives? So what about Billy Joe Saunders? So he fought Saturday, and guess what? Billy Joe Saunders is the new WBO World Super Middleweight Champion. So what did we learn? I know what I learned. Hey, Go ahead and juice. Nothing will happen. Blame it on tainted meat. Blame it on nasal spray. Blame it on blood pressure medicine. Because there are a bunch of suckers out there who will believe you and who will argue on your behalf. Because you are their heroes. And at worst, or at worst, I should say, people will forget about it all in about 3 to 6 months. You know, and you guys lay into Jarrell Miller, but oh no, not the others. Well, at least Jarrell didn't go finger pointing and make a bunch of excuses. Yet. It was business as usual for Gary Russell Jr. And he's my hero for at least a day. And I tell you why. Earlier this month, he kind of called Alan Heyman out, as well as Gervonta Davis, and more notably, Leo Santa Cruz. Last week, an article came out where Russell Jr. said even Al Heyman doesn't want to make the fight with Santa Cruz, it seems. And underlining, the underlining to that is he's basically saying that Alan Heyman is protecting Leo. And it seems that way. He's been calling Leo out for years. For some years now. And it appears it's a no-go. And what did he do? He followed it up Saturday with the t-shirt calling Santa Cruz and Alan Heyman out. What's up, Al? Or something like that on the shirt. So, in cases like this, it works against Alan Heyman because since he doesn't talk to the media, he can't defend his position on the Santa Cruz fight. And then Gary later went on to say that he's a free agent and he only works with Premier. So we'll see what happens next. Keep an eye on that for sure. We didn't do a lot of video coverage from Brooklyn because we got an email, and I think it went out to most, if not all, the press. We got an email saying not to cover things in certain areas of the arena, which is what we usually do. So we respected the promoter's wishes or the outlet's wishes, whoever was behind it, and while others violated that rule and will probably get a punishment similar to what the WBC does to people when they threaten to punish people. My last name is not Raphael, so I stayed in my lane. I don't work for DeBella or Mayweather Promotions or Premier, so I followed the rules on that one. So let's just call it the Julian Williams rule. And if you scroll back and watch our few videos from a week ago with the Julian Williams thing, you'll know what we're talking about, because we got a lot of dressing room coverage and hallway coverage and what have you, and there's still some stuff we didn't release that we probably just, I don't know, we might throw it in there somewhere. So let's call it the Julian Williams rule. So let's go back to the yogurt spot. Okay, the place is called Love Yogurt, L-U-V, yogurt. If you're ever going to a fight in New York or Jersey, or if you're coming down from up top, headed to Philly, stop in North Jersey at Love Yogurt, L-U-V, Love Yogurt. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter. And the reason we stopped at Love Yogurt, early in the week, Deontay Wilder once again said he wanted a body on his record. And he wanted to basically kill Breazeale or someone else before it's all said and done. And he went on to say boxing is the only sport where you can kill someone and get away with it. So why shouldn't I exercise my right to do so? And that rubbed people the wrong way. It rubbed the WBC allegedly wrong. You know, I could do a 4-hour video on the WBC. The WBC is... I'm not getting into it. So, then on a website, they ran a story on a guy named George Khalid Jones. And he owns the yogurt joint, okay, that I went to. And in 2001, George Khalid Jones fought a guy named Beethaven Scotland. Okay, they call him B. Scotland. And it was on ESPN's Friday Night Fights. And Scotland died due to injuries related to punches that Jones threw. And so they interviewed Jones on the website, and his message to Wilder was, no, you don't want a body on your record. And so I went to Love Yogurt to interview George to get a little bit more from him. And when I got there, I met his lovely wife, had a conversation with her. Her name is Naomi. And she told me that George left out shortly before I got there. And she wished I could hang around until he got back, because she said George would probably talk my head off. And so I told her I'd probably be back if I go to the Anthony Joshua fight or the Golovkin fight, which happened to be in back-to-back weeks, the week of June 1st and the week of June 8th. I told her I would come back. But years later, that happened in 2001, that fight still haunts Jones, because basically they're saying your punches killed another man. And George wasn't the same guy after that for the rest of his career. I mean, he was mentally screwed up. He lost his next fight. He got knocked out. And just like Ray Mancini, Boom Boom, punches he landed led to the death of Dooku Kim. Okay? And Boom Boom was never the same. And then you got Atlantic City's finest, Levander Johnson, who died from injuries with his fight against Jesus Chavez. And Chavez, just like George Khalid Jones, got knocked out in his next fight. Both of those guys got knocked out in their next fight. And they just, mentally, they just weren't there. And so you got to be careful what you say. For those who believe in God or Yahweh or a higher power, you know how words can, you know, the power of words. You say you want to kill somebody, and then it happens, and then you just messed up. So now you got Paulie Malignaggi, who became a gangster a couple years ago when he was trying to get a fight with Conor McGregor. And he talked about putting, Paulie's been fighting in the bare knuckle league, or what you call it. And he was talking about putting his bare knuckle fight opponent, Artem Lobov, in a coma. And then at a press conference, was it today? I believe it might have been today. Paulie spat at the dude twice. You know, the first one nobody seems to make a comment on, but he actually spat at the dude twice. And the second one he spit, and I think he also hit the guy who was to the side trying to play peacemaker, because the guy's wiping his face like, man. And so I'm not sure what's up with Paulie. I'm not sure what's up with a lot of these guys, but moving on. Did you guys see Inoue stop Emmanuel Rodriguez? Man, that left hook to the head, and later those lefts to the body. He's right up there with Wilder, pound for pound, on the punching list. And he has the go-to punch. And his fight with Nonito Donaire will be interesting, very interesting, especially if the old man can land his left hook on Inoue, the monster. Did anybody see the Marco Hook fight with Nick Guevas? Okay, this one was a little weird. So he dropped Nick, and then so Nick takes his count. So then Marco goes in to finish him after Nick got up. They got tied up a bit, and his hook threw a couple lefts. The referee, Sade Murda, called break. Now the first shot hurt Guevas, and the second shot was already in motion before this idiot yelled break. Now, Sade Murda isn't my favorite referee. Okay, he isn't one of my favorites. But the bottom line is the second punch was in motion as he yelled break. And then Guevas couldn't continue. And it was a knockout win for Hook, which later got changed to a no contest. And that's the wrong call in my opinion. And if I remember, I'm going to leave highlights from the Wilder Breazeale fight, the Inoue fight, and the Hook fight to illustrate my points in each of the fights. Hook got the shaft in my opinion, and he should protest. And speaking of protest, looks like Matt Korobov is protesting the Emmanuel Lean suspect decision from last week, and we covered that, and we made a recommendation. Looks like he did it, and nothing may come out of it, but good for him. He should protest it. All right, we'll be at MGM National Harbor this weekend to cover Devin Haney, and then maybe in New York for Joshua Ruiz or Ruiz, take your pick, and then a week later for Golovkin against a guy named Rolls, and his last name ain't Royce, folks. Catch you later.